أَلَمْ تَرَ, have you not seen, إِلَى الَّذِينَ, to those people who, قِيلَ لَهُمْ, it was said to them, كُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ, withhold your hands, restrain your hands. From what? From battle. Meaning don't fight right now. And focus on وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Focus on salah and give the zakah. Ibn Abbas said that Abdurrahman ibn Auf and several of his companions, they came to the Prophet ﷺ while in Makkah. So before Hijrah, what happened? Abdurrahman ibn Auf and some of his companions, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, "O Allah's Prophet, we were mighty when we were pagans. When we were mushrikeen, we were very powerful. But when we embraced the faith, we became weak." You understand? They said, before Islam, we had so much power. And since we've become Muslim, we have become weak. How? That everybody is turning against us. And we're told not to fight. So basically he was saying, please allow us to fight. Before, we would fight and defend ourselves. Nobody could dare say anything to us. And now because we cannot fight, people think that they can say and do whatever they want to us. So please allow us to fight. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنِّي أُمِرْتُ بِالْعَفْوِ فَلَا تُقَاتِلُ الْقَوْمِ. I have been commanded to pardon the people. Right now, I'm not allowed to fight the people. I have been commanded to pardon the people. So do not fight them. So we see that in Makkah, the Muslims were not allowed to fight the enemy. They were not allowed. It was prohibited. Why? For two reasons. First of all, because the Muslims were not strong enough. They were very few in number, and also they didn't have a lot of strength. Secondly, the city of Makkah was what? It was haram. It was a sacred city. And fighting was not allowed over there. And the Prophet ﷺ did not wish to violate the sanctity of the city of Makkah. So the Muslims, they wished to fight, which is why they were told, كُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ, have you seen? And this expression, it provokes amazement. Strange is their case. These people, that قِيلَ لَهُمْ, it was said to them, كُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ, don't fight right now. And meanwhile, what should you do? وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Perform the salah and give the zakah. Why? Because performing the salah and giving the zakah is the basics. So strengthen your basics and then go on to something else. Many times, what happens? We want to achieve big goals, huge goals. We want to excel, but we haven't even perfected the basics. Like for example, a person says, I want to be a scholar. And he has this huge image of himself in his mind that I want to be a scholar. But he hasn't even read the Quran cover to cover. When it comes to reciting the Quran, he cannot even do that properly. Many times people will go, enroll themselves in a very big course, 4 years, degree, something like that, and they will come out with a big degree. But if you ask them what the meaning of an ayah of the Quran, they don't know. If you ask them to recite one ayah of the Quran with tajweed, they can't recite it properly. So what does this show to us? That we have to focus on the basics first. We must focus on that first. Which is why the objective of this course is what? Ta'lim al-Quran. Because everything begins from the Quran. If you strengthen your understanding, your knowledge of the Quran, then you can move on. And if you focus on everything else except for the Quran, then you cannot have a solid understanding of the deen. Remember that. Like for example, you may have noticed that some of you, if you had taken some courses related to the deen, before studying the Quran, maybe your understanding was not that strong. And now if you go take a course, the scholar quotes one ayah, and you know what the context is. You know what the meaning is. You can understand the statements in Arabic. You have some understanding. You have an improved understanding. Where does it come from? By strengthening the basics. So over here, although you want to jump to qital, you want to go to that higher level, but right now you need to focus on the basics. You need to strengthen them. Because they are part of your training. If you look at it, in salah, you learn how to form rows. Right? And is that necessary for battle? Of course it is. In salah, you learn about working collectively, working together. But you can't just, stand here, another person stands at the other end of the row. No, you have to form a straight line, you have to stand together, and you have to go together in the ruku', get up together from the ruku'. So, you learn how to work together. Similarly, in salah, you learn how to follow the leader. How to follow the leader. Yesterday we learned that obey the ulul amr. Now, how will a person do that if he hasn't prayed salah? In salah, you learn that only when the imam says Allahu Akbar, then I'm going to go. And when he says Allahu Akbar, even if I haven't finished my surah, I have to follow. So salah teaches us the basics. So, أَقِيمُ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُ الزَّكَاةَ, and also give the zakah. And also why establish the salah? In order to strengthen your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to strengthen your iman. What is salah called? Iman. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ. Allah was not going to waste your iman, meaning He's not going to waste your salah. So, why establish the salah? In order to strengthen your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to strengthen your iman. And if you don't have the strength of iman, how can you go for battle? You can't. You can't have the confidence then. So, أَقِيمُ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُ الزَّكَاةَ. So, in Makkah, they were told not to fight and instead focus on salat and zakat. But remember that zakat, it was not made obligatory in Makkah. So over here, what is meant by zakat is general charity. فَلَمَّا كُتِبَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقِتَالِ. Then, when fighting was prescribed upon them, when it was ordained upon them, when it was made obligatory, what happened then? And when was this made obligatory? In Medina. In Makkah, they wanted to fight, but they were told, كُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ. And they were told to focus on the basics. So later on in Medina, when qital was made mandatory, how? When? By several ayat. One of them is what we learned now, that infiru subatin aw infiru jami'a. So what happened? What was the reaction of people? Either, then suddenly. Either gives the meaning of then, and sometimes it also gives the meaning of suddenly, immediately. Then suddenly, فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ, a group from them, meaning a group of the believers, not all of them, only some of them, يَخْشَوْنَ النَّاسِ, they began to fear the people. كَخَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ, just as the fear of Allah. Meaning they began fearing the enemy, just as a person should actually fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who does An-Nas refer to? In the context, it refers to the people of Makkah. And in general, An-Nas refers to any enemy. كَخَشْيَةِ like the fear of Allah. Meaning like a person should fear Allah. What kind of fear is khashya? Khashya is such fear that is based on the knowledge of the greatness of something. It is based on the knowledge of the enormity, the seriousness of something. Like for example, if a person really knows about, he is aware of the environment, about a person should not waste water, he should be green and use organic and stuff like that. His behavior is different compared to a person who doesn't know much. A person who is knowledgeable, he's going to be very careful when it comes to using water. And a person who doesn't care, who doesn't know, he's not going to care at all. He's going to go stand under the shower for like 25 minutes without having any doubt in his head. So khashya is such fear that is based on knowledge of the seriousness, the enormity, the magnitude of something. And this fear, it translates into action automatically. So, they began fearing the people just as they should fear Allah. Now, when a command of Allah comes, what should a person's reaction be? That out of the fear of Allah, he follows the command, he accepts the command. But at this time, instead of fearing Allah, they began fearing the enemy. They began fearing the power of the enemy. أَوْ أَشَدَّ خَشْيَةً, or even more intense in fear. Meaning, rather their fear of the enemy was much more than their fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is something very strange. That a person fears people more than he fears Allah. This is something very strange, especially in the matter of a person who claims to be a believer. A person who doesn't believe, okay, understandable. But a person who believes, this does not suit him. Which is why Allah says, Alam tara, have you seen? Isn't this strange? This is very weird. وَقَالُوا, and they said, رَبَّنَا, O our Lord, لِمَا كَتَبْتَ عَلَيْنَا الْقِتَالِ, why did you ordain upon us fighting? Lima? Why? Meaning, why is fighting obligatory upon us? Katabta is from kataba, to write literally, and then from that to ordain. So why have you made fighting mandatory upon us? Why isn't it just voluntary? And sometimes, if there is a particular command, we ask, okay, what's the reason? Why? Why like this and why like that? And sometimes we have these questions, why? Because of the fear of people. What will they say? For instance, a typical example can be of the permission to a man of marrying more than one wife. We want reasons and reasons and reasons. Why? Because we're fearing who? Who are we fearing? People. That they will point their fingers at Islam. So we want to know more and more reasons. Why? What's the wisdom? What's the reason? Yes, obviously behind every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is a wisdom. Because Allah is Hakim. And He is Alim. But sometimes we get lost in this. Why? And we forget on what? So, لِمَا كَتَبْتَ عَلَيْنَا الْقِتَالِ, why did you prescribe on us fighting? لَوْلَا أَخَرْتَنَا إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ, why did you not delay for us until a near period? Until a near time? Meaning, why did you not give us more time? Why didn't you defer the obligation of qital? أَخَرْتَنَا from the root letters Hamza Khara. أَخَرَ يُؤَخِّرُ تَأْخِيرٌ. And what does that mean? To delay, to defer something, to postpone something. So they're saying that why did you not postpone this for some more time until we could become stronger and we could increase in our numbers? Remember that in Medina also, the Muslims, yes, they were a lot in number compared to how much they were in Makkah. They had more freedom. But still, they were not financially that strong. Remember that. Because the Muslims who had come from Makkah, they had left everything in Makkah. Just imagine a land that is full of immigrants. Those immigrants, they increase the poverty, correct? There are more people who are unemployed. There are more people who don't have enough money. They're unstable. So, in Medina, yes, the Muslims were, their numbers had grown. However, they were still weak. They were still weak. So, some of them started saying that how come we were not given more time until we were stronger, we were more financially capable, then fighting should have been allowed for us. And some people, they will also say the statement at the time of death, that لَوْلَا أَخَرْتَنِي إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ, that, oh Allah, why did you not give me more time so that I could do more good deeds? I would give charity, I would do this good deed, I would do that good deed. But the fact is that if you're not prepared for something now, then you're never prepared for it. Remember that. If you're not prepared for something now, then you're never prepared for it. However you live, okay, that is how you die. However you live, that is how you die. Whatever things that you're used to doing, that is what you will be doing when you die. You can't be in a situation that is extraordinary in which you die. No. So if you're not prepared for something now, you can never be ready for it later on. And sometimes you see that we delay doing certain things. Why? Because we said that we're too busy right now. I will do it when I have more time. Like for instance, we say that I'm going to memorize this juz, I'm going to memorize this surah, I'm going to revise what I have memorized, I'm going to learn all of the Muslim du'as. When? When I'm done with the course. But what happens when you're done with the course? Those of you who are done with the course, something new begins, something different begins. So, if you really want to do something, then you have to make time for it. You can't wait for time to come to you, free time, and then you will do it. No, you have to make time for it. And whatever priority you have, you will make sure that you make time for it. Like for instance, people who love having parties and dinners and going out and going shopping and things like that. They continue to do these things even when they are busy. With a very busy schedule, with a very busy lifestyle, they will still be able to do the things that they love to do. Like for instance, if you love a particular TV program, you will still be able to watch it no matter how busy you are. So, saying this that لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنَا إِلَىٰ أَجْلٍ قَرِيبٍ, what does it show? That you have to accept whatever comes your way. قُلْ مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٌ. Say that the benefit of this life is a little. It is very little. The benefit of this life is very little. This statement is said for two reasons. First of all, there is a warning that if you keep delaying, you will never be able to do this. If you keep delaying, you will never be able to do this. It's like, how some people say that, I can't get married now because I'm not ready. Sometimes people say that. I want 1 more year. I want to finish my school. Okay, now I want to have a job. Okay, now I want some experience. And then by the time they decide they want to get married, for some people it's too late. It happens with some people. Similarly, sometimes people say, I can't have children right now because I'm not ready. And what happens? I'm busy with one thing, then I'm busy with another thing, then I'm busy with something else. And in that process, the person finds out that, oh my God, I'm so old now, I should better have children now because otherwise I might not be able to have at all. So, over here, this statement is being said for two reasons. First of all, that if you keep delaying, then you will never be able to do this because life is too short. Whatever you want to do, just do it now. Don't wait for free time. Don't wait for something to happen, then you will do it. No. Whatever is important to you, incorporate that in your present situation. And if it's really important to you, you will incorporate it. Like for example, if reciting the Quran is something important to you, you will make time for it. Even if it's 15 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes. But if you say that, no, when I'm done with this, when I'm free, when I have a nice routine in which I have control over the situation, then I will start reciting the Quran, then I'm sorry, that situation will never come. It will never come. So first of all, there is a warning that life is too short. You cannot delay doing important things. You have to do it now. You don't know when your life is going to come to an end. And many times we see that we keep delaying things and a year passes, another year passes, another year passes, and sometimes it's too late. Secondly, قُلْ مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٌ. This is being said, that why is it that you don't want to do qital? Is it that you want the benefit of this life? You want to live more? Because obviously going for battle means putting your life at risk. You might not come back home. So you want more time. Why? So that you can enjoy more. Allah says, قُلْ مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٌ. The enjoyment, the benefit of this life is short. Eventually it is going to come to an end anyway. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. And the hereafter is better for the one who fears Allah. In all aspects, it's better. In its quality as well as in its quantity. The benefit that you could have in this dunya, it is nothing compared to the benefit of the akhirah. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. وَلَا تَظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. And you will not be wronged even the thread of the date seed. Remember the word fatil? From the root letters fa, ta, lam. Fatil is literally the thread that is across the date seed. And this is a mathal. This is an example for something that is very minuscule, for something that is very tiny in its amount. So وَلَا تَظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. You will not be wronged at all. Why is this being said? That you will be rewarded for everything that you do. You will be rewarded for everything that you do. So why are you afraid of going to battle? Go ahead, just do it. Every single thing that you do, you will be rewarded for it. So similarly, if for those Muslims it was qital, for us, it is some other kind of jihad. It is a struggle to recite Quran every day. It is a struggle to recite the morning and evening adhkar every day. It is a struggle to fast, to make up your fast that you have missed. So for every person there are different struggles. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. You will not be wrong, just do it. This life is not for enjoyment. Enjoyment is for akhirah. So what do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn about the importance of preparing and planning before doing anything. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ قِيلَ لَهُمْ كُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. They were told, restrain your hands from fighting and instead focus on salat and zakat. Why? For preparation. You're not prepared for battle. You need to prepare. So this shows us the importance of preparing and planning before doing anything. So in other words, a person should not do anything without being prepared for it from before. Why? Because if a person goes into something without preparation, what's going to happen? He is going to suffer. How? Like for example, if a person sets up a business without any experience. For instance, he gets this idea of having a restaurant, opening a restaurant. He's not a chef. He doesn't know anything about cooking. He doesn't know anything about business. He just has money. Or he has a chance of borrowing money from somebody. So he borrows money, invests it, opens up a restaurant, hires a chef who's not a good chef. He doesn't have any managerial skills. So what happens? Eventually, he is going to suffer a huge loss. Similarly, if you don't know how to cook, and if you start cooking, what's going to happen? You're going to waste the food. Aren't you? You're going to burn the food. You're going to make it bland. You're going to make it too spicy. So it's better to prepare from before. So we see that preparation for a task includes training for the task. Training. That being knowledgeable about it. That you have to have knowledge about it. You have to have some training. Which is why the Muslims are told over here to perform the salah. Similarly, of the preparation for something is financial resources. That a person should also have financial resources for it. That the Muslims of Makkah, many of them, remember that they were slaves. They were freed slaves. And those of them who were wealthy before, because of the persecution they suffered, because of the boycott they suffered, whatever they had, they lost that as well. For instance, Suhaib al-Rumi, he had so much. But when he was migrating from Makkah to Medina, he had to leave everything. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ, him and his wife Khadija radiallahu anha, they had so much. But during that boycott, they hardly had anything to eat. So, preparation means that you are trained for it, and also it includes that you have the financial resources for it. Similarly, it includes that you have the manpower for it. And you also have the right time as well as the opportunity. So, we must not go into anything without preparing for it. Secondly, we also learn from this ayah that it's possible that we want to do something, but it's not the right time for it. We want it to happen, but it's not happening. Why? Because Allah knows that it's not the right time. For instance, some people, they want to get married very young. From the moment they turn 17, they dream of getting married. From the moment they turn 16, they wish to get married. Especially girls. But what happens? They don't get married for a very long time. Maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years. Now, if they were to get married at that time, first of all, they haven't completed their schooling. Secondly, they're not mature enough. Thirdly, they're not able to deal with the situation that they are going to encounter. So if they do get married at that time, they would suffer. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes, alhamdulillah, some girls are very smart. They're able to manage. But others, they're not able to manage. So sometimes we want something to happen desperately, but it doesn't happen. Why? Because there is some wisdom behind it. The Muslims were desperate to defend themselves. But they weren't ready for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew about it. This is why He didn't allow them. So similarly, if you want something to happen and it's not happening, tell yourself, it's not the right time yet. Maybe inshallah in the future, when I'm more ready for it, when I'm better prepared for it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send it my way. So when you want something to happen and it's not happening, what should you focus on? What should you focus on? Dreaming about it? Some girls do. That when they want to get married, when they're very young, they dream, okay, when I get married, I'm going to wear this dress, this color. That's what they should focus on? No. They should focus on learning how to cook. Their mother asked them, come and help me. No, I'm not going to help. Come and help me clean. No, I'm not going to. Well, if you're not going to train yourself, then you're not prepared. Then you're not ready for the next step. So, when you want that something should happen and it's not happening, instead of dreaming about it, instead of complaining about it, what should you do? Focus on that which is on your plate at the moment. Stay in the present. Stay in the present. So whatever you're obligated to do now, do that. Do that. Because if you don't do that now, you will not be ready for the situation that comes afterwards. Like for instance, some people, they wish to, just because you're sitting in front of me, they wish to, after the course, they love to become group in charges, they love to work in the institute. But we see that as students, they neglect their lesson. They neglect their studies. So sometimes when we start volunteering, we compromise on our lesson. But the fact is that if you don't do your lesson properly, if you don't do your homework, if you don't do the course properly, will you be able to do anything afterwards? No. So in order to be successful later on, you have to do what you're supposed to do right now properly. Focus on what is on your plate now. Don't think about what can come afterwards. Because when you're stuck in the future, when you're just dreaming about the future, then you can't do what you're supposed to properly. Similarly, we learn from this ayah that it is natural to be fearful of a daunting task, especially the first time. Like over here, when they were told that فَلَمَّا كُتِبَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقِتَالُ, what happened? That a group of them, they started fearing the people as they should fear Allah. So it is natural to be fearful. It is natural to be fearful. When a person has to perform a task that may seem very difficult, especially when it's the first time. But you need courage to take the first step, because if you don't take the first step, then you will never be able to do it. Like over here, they were fearful, and they said, "Oh Allah, give us more time." What does that show? That they don't want to do it. And if you take the first step, then you will be able to do it. Like for instance, there was this particular thing that I wouldn't do at school, and my teacher, they would say to me, break the ice, just do it. You really have to break the ice in front of you, and when you do it, then you will be able to move forward. And if you don't take the first step, then how will you be able to move forward? So sometimes it is natural to feel fear, but you have to have courage in order to take the first step. And when you take the first step, then you can proceed. We also learn from this ayah that when it comes to doing something right, then a person should not fear people, rather he should fear Allah. And if you really fear Allah, then the fear of people will eliminate. It will reduce. Also, we should remember that delaying something is not going to eliminate it. Like for instance, if you delay cleaning your washroom, cleaning your room, cleaning your closet, is it going to fix itself? Is it going to disappear? Is it? No, it's not going to. Eventually you have to face it. So just delaying is not going to finish it. So if you have to do something, do it right away. Similarly, we learn from this ayah that those people who fear death, or those people who fear taking risk, they cannot do anything. What do they say? That, "Oh Allah, لَوْلَا أَخَرْتَنَا إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ قُلْ مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٍ." Life is too short. If you don't want to take a risk, then you will not be able to do anything. You have to take risks. Because life is too short. And if you're just overly concerned about your health, about your well-being, then you will not be able to do anything. Like for example, sometimes people don't learn a particular skill. Why? Because they're scared. For instance, I'm not going to learn how to cook because I'm scared I'm going to burn the food. I'm not going to hold a knife, I'm scared I'm going to cut my finger. I'm not going to iron clothes because I'm scared I'm going to burn the clothes. Have you heard that excuse? Many people make it, especially young children when they're being given responsibilities as they grow older. They make all of these excuses. I can't do this because of this reason. You have to take a risk. If you don't take risks, you cannot move on. You have to take a chance. And if you're only concerned about your well-being, your health, everything should be perfect and fine for you, then you cannot achieve anything. You have to take a risk.